Good morning, book family, and welcome back to episode 3 of A Week in View. As usual, we generally start with some historical facts, so let's have a quick look, shall we? So I'm going to do some people that were born on this day first. So in 1987, because of what we've got going on at the moment with the Euros, Lionel Messi was born in 1987 on this day, the Argentinian footballer. So happy birthday, Lionel Messi. Then we've got Mindy Kaling, an American actress, comedian and author, was born in 1979 on this day. We've got Jack Dempsey, the American boxer, was born on this day in 1895. We've got Ambrose Bryce, who's an American author, was born in 1842 on this day. And that's it for what I've got on my history page here for people that were born on this day. So other interesting facts of history. In 1812 on this day, Russia was invaded by Napoleon and his Grand Army. So on this day in 1812, French Emperor Napoleon, who had massed his troops in Poland in the spring to intimidate Russia's Tsar Alexander I, and 600,000 troops of his Grand Army launched an ill-fated invasion of Russia. Interesting. What else do we have? We have the Australian politician Julia Gillard was sworn in as Australia's first female Prime Minister in 2010 on this day. Another quite interesting fact. In 1948, the Berlin blockade intensified when the Soviet Union announced that the Western Allied powers no longer had any rights in Berlin. And I found this one quite interesting actually. In 1947 on this day, American businessman Kenneth Arnold saw a number of objects flying like saucers while piloting a small plane over Mount Rainier in Washington. It was considered the first modern sighting of UFOs and gave rise to the term flying saucer. Now, I'm just going to jump to tomorrow because I saw some interesting things for tomorrow. So, one that I saw for tomorrow's date, which was June 25th, 1950, the Korean War began. So on this day in 1950, June 25th, North Korea unleashed an attack southward across the 38th parallel, after which the UN Security Council, minus the Soviet delegate, passed a resolution calling on UN members to assist South Korea. So that was one that I wanted to point out. And then a few birthdays for tomorrow. So we have the birthday of Rain, South Korean singer and actor. They were born in 1982, so happy birthday to them for tomorrow. Then one of my favourite comedians, Ricky Gervais. He was born in 1961, so happy birthday to Ricky Gervais for tomorrow. Anthony Bourdain, the American chef, author and television personality, was born in 1956, so happy birthday to you for tomorrow. George Orwell, British author, was born on tomorrow in 1903. And then we've got Louis Mountbatten, the first Earl of Mountbatten, who was a British statesman, was born tomorrow in 1900. So happy birthday to all those people for tomorrow. So that was just a brief look at some history for what happened today and for tomorrow in history. So let's get on to what I did last week. So as you know, I did my second episode of A Week in View, and then I went on to review on Wednesday Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I actually really ended up enjoying that book, so I'm going to continue with that series. It's a great, interesting fantasy kind of whirlwind of intrigue, espionage, kind of religion. It's all thrown in with spies and these groups that are forming to take over the Lord Ruler and get gain of the Luthadel, and it's just a really, really good book. So I imagine the series is going to be amazing. So I am going to carry on with Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. I am going to continue with that. I've got the other two just there. I also have The Way of Kings there waiting, but I'm going to continue with these two and continue with that series because I did actually really enjoy it. Yes, the magic system does get explained quite a bit, but it still didn't, for me, detract away from the story too much. It is a little bit repetitive, but I actually did enjoy the story, so I'm going to continue with that. Really enjoyed that. Then I reviewed on Friday a indie book that was sent to me by the author himself, Steve Stark, A Hot Dose of Hell. Fantastic horror, really different, really gory. And I do like myself a bit of gore. Saw is one of my favourite films. I do like some gore. So in this book, we've got this new drug that's on the street, and it gets into the hands of these two junkies, and they then run away with it. They steal it from this guy, but this is kind of a plot of some description. So they steal this gear from this guy, end up going back to their hotel, which is called the Victoria. You imagine shooting up or whatever, but along the way other people manage to get hold of it. So these couple of prostitutes managed to get hold of a key of it, and it just everything goes to hell from there. It just ends up, everything goes tits up. There's blood, there's gore, there's people dying all over the place. And then we've got Fred and Pinker, who are the heavies working for their boss. And any new drugs on the streets, they want to know about it. But not only do they want to know about it, they want to know why it's out there, where it's come from, what's it doing, is it harming their usual suspects who buy from them. So you've got all this, you've got the gore and all that kind of entertainment, but on the other side, you've still got this story of what is the purpose of this drug? Why is it suddenly out there now? This is the first kind of we're hearing of this drug, and its effects are violent and horrendous and gruesome, and where's it come from, why is it out there? And towards the end of the book, you actually do find out sort of kind of who it's from. It's not necessarily really a why, but you do kind of find out who it's from. And yeah, it has a very interesting ending. It has kind of a double interesting ending. You find out some stuff about the characters that you've been following through the entirety of the book, and then you find out a little bit extra. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed A Hot Dose of Hell. Looking very much forward to going on to Violent Ends, which is a trilogy. But yeah, Steve Stark's writing is superb. And because it was UK based, and this isn't to be, discriminatory over any other country, but because it was UK based, I found that I could really sort of get into it that bit more. I could really relate, because the shops and the landmarks, etc., that I mentioned in the film, very, very easy for me to picture myself there as one of the characters. And one of the characters called Rhonda, she's like Rhonda with thunder. She's just not to be messed with. She's this big hench woman who's very, very fit, takes her fitness very serious. And then you've got, like I said, Fred, and you've got Pinker, who are the heavies, and the teaming up of those three and the scenes that Steve has written, including those three, are just sublime. So yeah, it's depending on your disposition, this may well be something that gives you a stack of Stark nightmares, but it's up to you. I'll let you decide. But if you love horror and you love yourself some gore, I would absolutely say give A Hot Dose of Hell a try. It's superb. And why not support your indie authors? They need our support. That's what we're here for. Yes, we can read our mainstream authors who get published by the publishing houses and love them, but we still have to support our indies who are publishing their own works to get out there and be heard. So if you get round to or if you even see this video and you think, you know what, I do like horror, I absolutely suggest you give Steve Stark a go, and just support our indie authors out there. So then following on, myself, Darko and Alicia. So Darko, who you know from KindlesandKicks, Alicia, again, who I imagine you all know, Birdie in the Books. We formed a book club called Ballads and Bards. So it's Darko, myself and Alicia, and our first book in our book club was The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Very deep, very thought-provoking, very twisty-turner. Sometimes I personally found it a little hard to follow because you're kind of jumping through this man's story. You don't get a name for this gentleman. He's just basically known as the Invisible Man. And there's a very, very strong theme and message with that, because the book is trying to explain to you why he's considers himself an invisible man, and it does an extremely good job of that. It's very intense, as I say, very thought-provoking. If you're looking for something that's got a deeper, more meaningful read to it, I would absolutely advise Invisible Man. We haven't spoke in depth about it yet. Darko is on holiday at the moment. Hope you have a great holiday, sweeter. Darko's on holiday at the moment. But me and Alicia, we've said a couple of things, but I'm on holiday next week, so we're going to have to sort of round up a date that's convenient for us all to discuss this book. But yeah, if you're looking for something thought-provoking, meaningful, where you're not scared to necessarily go into the realms of what life was like for somebody of colour in that time period, and you're not scared to hear potentially truths of what life could have been like then, what living conditions were like, what things kind of happened, potentially how the divide between white and black and what the treatment was like. If you're not scared to hear those things, and you also enjoy a little bit of humour, what I did towards the last 3 chapters was I went onto Spotify and I found the book on Spotify. So I audibly listened and read at the same time. And to be fair, the author, called, I think his name was Joe Morton, if memory serves me right, does an awesome job. He does a fantastic job with this audible version. He is so good. The voices that he creates for the different characters are so fitting. I'm very much a reader. I like the paperback reading of a book. That's just my preferred medium. That's how I like to do it. Not a big fan of hardbacks. Find it difficult to concentrate if I'm listening. And I find an e-book quite hard as well, because I don't have an e-reader. I would have to do it off a tablet, so they're heavier. You can't really adjust the lighting very well, so it can hurt your eyes. It can be hard to hold. So there's those factors as to really why I just stick to paperback. But I decided just to give it a go, just to see if I could find it on Spotify, which I did. And just to those few chapters, just listen along. I did listen at a 1.5 speed, because he does read it in quite a slow tempo. There are bits where he picks up and he goes a bit faster, but I did read it at 1.5. That enabled me to read along at that speed, so we kept in time with each other. And what it did is it completely changed my experience. So as I was reading it solemnly on my own, just as a paperback, I was getting my own version, obviously, of the account. But when you bring in the voice actor to give a twist to the characters and give them voice, it may not be what you think yourself is in there. So I really actually enjoyed that little difference of somebody telling me what they could possibly sound like, and it was a really good experience. It actually made those last 3, I think it was 3 chapters, really enjoyable. So I would strongly advise giving Invisible Man a go on Audible. I thought it was really good, and like I say, I think it's Joe Morton who is the narrator. He was so good. His way of changing from a normal kind of American accent to a southern accent to speaking as like a very upper crust white man, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So either just one way or another, whatever medium you prefer, I would absolutely advise Invisible Man. It's so good. Then, off the recommendation of the lovely Rabin, who is Only the Best Fantasy Novels, that's his channel. He's quite new, so if you haven't, go and subscribe to Rabin. He's got some great book recommendations, so definitely go over there. After one video that I did, Rabin put a comment in. I think it was my top 10 authors I'd buy. And he put a comment in suggesting a couple of authors to me. Some I'd heard of and some I've got books for that I still need to get round to. But this one particular author I hadn't heard of, and it was Alex E. Harrow. And I was like, I don't know who that is. So Rabin said, well, if you want to and you want to find out, here's a book I would suggest. And it was The Once and Future Witches. So it's this book with this gorgeous cover. Come on, focus. Absolutely gorgeous cover. So when I went on Amazon and looked for it, I fell in love with that cover. Fell in love with it because it's a little bit like a tattoo. And, I am kind of a tattooed queen. I'm covered in tattoos. So this drew me in. And I said to him straight away back in those same comments, I've bought it. Just off the cover, I've bought it. Then I do what I do with all books. I read the first chapter. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put into words how much I have enjoyed this book. When a book suits everything there is about you, and it just hits all the right notes, and to quote John Minton, when it blows your hair back, this is that book. This book, regardless of anything else that I've read this year, this book is up for Book of the Year for me. It has done everything for me. Everything. I have a little fascination with anything magical. Anything magical, and I'm in. I love magic of any description. So every Halloween, I have my list of films, and every single one of them includes magic. So we're talking about, you know, Harry Potter, or we're talking about Hocus Pocus, Hocus Pocus 2, just anything that contains magic. And this is just sublime. I have been so excited reading this. This is about three sisters, and they have sort of been separated from each other for quite some time, and they all end up in Salem, and it's in the kind of the 1839 maybe, is it? Let me just go and check, because I'm not sure I'm getting that date correct. Is it on the back? 1893. My numbers were there just in the wrong order. It's 1893. I'll read the synopsis to you just to give you a hint. In 1893, there's no such thing as witches. There used to be, in the wild, dark days before the burnings began, but now witching is nothing but tiny charms and nursery rhymes. And if the modern woman wants any measure of power, she must find it at the ballot box. But when the Eastwood sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna, join the suffragettes of New Salem, they begin to pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches' movement. Stalked by shadows and sickness, hunted by forces who will not suffer a witch to vote, and perhaps not even to live, the sisters will need to delve into the oldest magics, draw new alliances, and heal the bond between them if they want to survive. It is just everything. Everything. You guys know, if you've been watching me since I reviewed Kings of the Wild, how much I enjoyed Nicholas Ames's Kings of the Wild. It was a book for me. It did everything for me. It was my humour. It was my little hints at music. It was all my tastes. But this is on another level. I have loved it from start to finish. The way Alex writes, she writes very, very similar to Neil Gaiman. Her writing style is very Neil Gaiman-esque, and that's another part of it that I enjoyed, because I loved American Gods and the way Neil Gaiman wrote his prose in there. Alex E. Harrow has a very similar prose to Neil Gaiman. It is this wonderful, enchanting book of sisters coming together. It's kind of a coming of age of these sisters from childhood to womanhood. It's about how they fell out, how they had no conversation with each other for around about 7 years, and the things that went on in that time, and how they grew independent of each other in that time, but still always with this keening to be sisters again, because their grandma, who's called Mags, was their mother. Their mother died in childbirth with the youngest child, who is James Juniper, but they were so close and so bonded, and the father was evil and treated them horribly and nastily. So that's why the two eldest girls, Belladonna and what's her name again? It's gone. Agnes, why they flew the coop to get away from the dad. But Juniper had no choice. She was too young. She had to stay. And the things that she's gone through and the character it makes her, the things that Agnes has gone through, the things that Bella has gone through, they've all got their own stories, and yet through their own stories you learn who they are as characters, and you go on this journey with them. And predominantly you go on this journey with Juniper to start with, and she is such a great character and such an amazing little witch, really. And she's so far being a witch. She loves the fact that she is a witch. She loves the fact that she's got these powers from spoken word, and she wants an uprising of witches. She wants witches back. So she's the first one to join the suffragettes. It's her idea that if she can turn the suffragettes from just plain women to give them voice, to give them word again, because the magic is in the words, the magic is in the written word. And what we find out is we find this place called the Tower, and this has a really important standing in this book. And the magic and the way that they rally the women, and how some of the historical figures are changed from being men to women, such as the Brothers Grimm is changed from the Brothers Grimm to the Sisters Grimm. It's the little details, but it's the the amazing, fantastic story, and it just did everything for me. I adore this book. This is a book I'm chomping at the bit to read again. It's not that I missed anything, it's just that I loved it so much. And then as you go through and they're talking about the magic and what they use and how it's in nursery rhymes and it's in fairy tales, Alex E. Harrow has actually gone to the lengths of writing short fairy tales within this book, giving them a title which you'll recognise, for instance like Rumpelstiltskin or like Rapunzel. They're actually in here, but with a twist on them that suits the narrative of the entire book to the magic that they're talking about at this moment. And there's male witches in this as well. Agnes meets a guy called Mr. Lee, and that's kind of her love interest, and he too has powers. But the men aren't looked at as being, anything shameful or anything to avoid, whereas obviously the women are. The women are looked at something that needs to be destroyed and eradicated or downtrodden. But these three witches just want that to go away. They want the standing of women. They want to be noticed and seen and heard, because all they've had from day one is being downtrodden and looked down upon by their own father and by men that they've come across. So it's just, and then there's the amazing character who is Bella's love interest, who's called Cleo Quinn, and she is a lady of colour, but she is also a witch from, I think it's the Tabue or something like that tribe of witches. It's just so good. It's so good. If you love that whole Salem witches, which I do, that's why I'm really enjoying Speaks the Nightbird. I love anything to do with witches and magic and 16th, 17th, 18th century. It's so good. The magic in it is amazing. The way that the nursery rhymes or fairy tales have been twisted to become a spell. The way that the header of every chapter is a little spell. My inner child came out, and I actually wanted to start trying to see if I could perform these spells. Could I find the herbs that are being mentioned? Could I actually do this spell? This is what this book did to me. It made me giddy. It made me so giddy. And at the end, I cried. There was a little touching moment, and I cried. So that is everything to me in a book. But I was so consumed by this book. Please, if you are into the things that I'm into, which is witches, Salem, magic, but it's not nasty, it's not harsh, it's very, granted the people in it can be nasty, and the antagonist within this book is not a very pleasant person, but if you just want that sort of fairy tale, witch kind of sisters coming together, feminist, powerful female uprising of a story by a female author who has done such a good job in not just writing this book but adding fairy tales into it and giving them a twist to fit the narrative of this story, absolutely give The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow a go. I cannot praise this book enough. I absolutely adore this book. This, I think, is going to take some beating this year. It will take a very, very, very superior book to beat this for me, because this, at this moment in time, is probably without doubt my book of the year. I have absolutely adored it. And if you have a passion for anything witchy, for anything Salem, for anything women's rights, not that I'm a huge feminist, but to give power to women in such times as this, when we're talking sort of 1893, that kind of era, 19th century, and an uprising of witches and an uprising of women, and these women who, yes, were whispered nursery rhymes and tales from the mothers, the grandmothers, but had no real reason to believe there was power in those words. But there is power in those words. It's just one that absolutely needs to be turned into a film. There needs to be an adaptation of this into film for Halloween, because that feeling that when I watch Hocus Pocus, that feeling that gives me, this gives me that in abundance. So yeah, The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, just superb, absolutely superb book. I can't say anymore. I can't. I'm lost for words. So good, so good. So I finished reading that. You've heard my thoughts on that one. Thank you, Rabin, so much for putting me onto that. I've tried to tell him a couple of times just how much that book recommendation suited me, and I just can't put it into words. I don't physically have the vocabulary to explain the magic that that book gave me. It just gave me this magical childhood feeling. And how many books do you know that do that for you, where they just take you back to your childhood and everything that you watched as a child and everything you wanted to be and all the fantasies you had. And I always wanted to be a witch as a child. I always wanted to be a witch. Wizard of Oz, Wicked, all those things just draw my attention. So I can't even explain just how much this book means to me. This will never, ever, ever leave my library, ever. And I've marked there because that is just, it gave me chills. That part, actually, what was written gave me chills. And Alex E. Harrow, I am absolutely committed to reading more of her work, because if that's just something to go off, then wow. Wow is all I can say. And then following on from that, along the same kind of lines, I'm still reading Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. Again, fantastic tale. Slightly different. We're not so focused on the magic with this, but we are focused on this mystery. We've got Matthew Corbett, who's trying to solve this mystery of Rachel Howarth and how she's been accused of being a witch. And we're in this town called Fount Royal, and Bidwell, who is the founder of this town, is determined to get this witch hung, because all the citizens of the village are basically claiming that they have witnessed Rachel in perverse acts with Satan. But there's certain elements that when they are giving their testaments to the magistrate and Matthew, that they just don't make sense. They just they're missing that element to make them make sense. So Matthew is on this determined path now of getting to the truth, because he himself doesn't necessarily feel that Rachel is guilty of these crimes. So that's the story that we're in, and it's so good. Yet I absolutely detest the character Exodus Jerusalem. I detest this preacher. He's just coming to Fount Royal now like he's something special, and he believes that, he's the worker. He is the human. He is the human sort of apparition of God to deliver God's work and God's message, and he's just here now to destroy this witch, and if not destroy her, make her repent for her sins. And he's basically turning the village into this kind of squad of religious zealots who want this witch dead regardless of getting a fair trial. And there's just a few members of the town, such as the teacher Johnson and the Dr. Shields, and actually the magistrate and Matthew, who want this to be done in a legal way. And Bidwell, who is kind of the founder of Fount Royal, has succumbed to Exodus Jerusalem and allowed him to stay. So we just know there's going to be more of this, twisting of religion to suit the narrative from Exodus Jerusalem, where if somebody doesn't do what he says, he's going to say that you're doing the devil's work then, and you're clearly in cahoots with Rachel Howarth. So it is, but it's grimy, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's muddy, it's set in that Neo-Dickensian kind of style. It's so good. It's such a good book. So once I've finished this video and done X, Y, and Z, I'm going to continue to read that, because it's such a good book, and I do love Robert McCammon's style of writing as well. It's very simple, very easy to follow, but you absolutely get the environment and the feel and the smells from Robert McCammon's writing. So I'm still reading with that. And then yesterday, I went out. Not yesterday. Saturday, I was out and about. I went out with my partner to Ashton. It's called, a place near us. It's where my daughter works presently, and I bought a couple of books, which was nice. My partner bought me some books. So this one that I'm about to show you, I've been waiting for a little while. It was out last year, I believe, but in hardback. And like I said, I do have some hardbacks here, but they're not something that I read. They're more of a collector's thing if I have a hardback. I will pick it up if it's dirt cheap. The Three Body Problem here that I have was really, really cheap on Amazon. So I do have an intent to read it, but I would much rather read it in paperback. I don't know. I just struggle with hardback. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a sort of a sensory thing. I'm not sure, but it makes me uncomfortable reading a hardback like these. A little one, a tiny one, sort of the Kingfisher one that I've got, which is over there, I can cope with. But when we're talking about, these big chunker hardbacks, I just really struggle with them. So I saw this yesterday. I'd forgot actually it was due to come out in paperback. So I got the Richard Osman's latest one, The Last Devil to Die. I've read every single one of these. I love Thursday Murder Club. It's just a group of elderly people who live together in what is like a carers accommodation. So they're not constantly looked after, but there are carers available to come and visit them, but they kind of live independently. So there's this little group of 2 women and 2 guys, and they solve crimes. And one of them, I can't remember her name right now because it's been a little while since I read the last one, but one of them used to work for MI5, and she's now a pensioner, but she's not ready to quit on the investigating and sussing out murder scenes. So you've got these gorgeous 4 pensioners who have made this club called the Thursday Murder Club, and they solve crimes, and it's just so sweet, but yet so funny. The way Richard Osman writes these books is so funny. The humour is brilliant. Joyce, who's the other character, the female character, she is such a cutie, but the way some of her lines come out are just hilarious. So if you're looking for kind of murder mysteries with an element of humour to them, I would absolutely say read Richard Osman. I love these. So this may come away with me next week. So because it's a fast read, they're very fast paced, and I'll probably get through it in a day or so. So I just love the Thursday Murder Club. They're amazing. And then he bought me this one. Now this was published in, let me see, 2019. So it's been out for quite some time, but I just really liked the way the synopsis sounded. And I love the cover as well, to be honest. But he got me this one. Oh, it's not very good there. We Hunt the Flame, it's called. Now give me a second. If I say this wrong, I do apologise. I'm so sorry. Hafsa Faisal, I think. We Hunt the Flame. So this one drew me in because it's magic again. So Zafira is the hunter. Forced to disguise herself as a man, she risks everything to provide for her people. Nazir is the Prince of Death, a feared assassin who is forever bound to the command of his father, the Sultan. Both are legends in their kingdom, but neither wants to be, and when Zafira embarks on a dangerous quest to return magic to their suffering land, Nazir is sent on a similar mission. But as their journey unfolds, an ancient evil begins to stir. That just caught my attention. So I think we have another one that they've wrote, which is We Free the Stars. But yeah, that was there. The other one I was going to guess, I can't remember the author's name, was The Hit List, and it was kind of a horror, but it looked really interesting. But I laid sort of 4 books out and asked my partner to pick. So obviously he picked Richard Osman, knowing that I've read the other 3, and he picked this one as well. So We Hunt the Flame. So I've got those 2. So that was Saturday. Saturday we watched the last 2 episodes, most recent episodes of The Boys. So we watched episodes 3 and 4. Yeah, it's okay. I'm kind of getting into the character Sage. I really like her. She's kind of the most intelligent woman on the planet. I like her. I have thoughts about her. So no spoiler, but I do think that maybe she may be giving across this impression that she is on Team Homelander. I don't think she is. I think she's there to infiltrate, to break from the inside out. I think she has ulterior motives, and she's just doing very well at what she's doing. Because presently, Homelander is very much listening to every piece of advice she's giving. And some of it's coming out quite violent. The violent ends to certain people. But I do believe that she is infiltrating from the inside and trying to bust them out. So that's what I think is going on with Sage. I've got to be honest, I still don't like Butcher. I still don't like Homelander. But with Homelander, that's kind of the point, isn't it? You meant to loathe him. That's the point of it. So he does do a very good job as an actor, but I just don't like him. Simple as that. And the other one who's starting to get a little bit annoying to me is Starlight. I remember her right in the beginning in season 1, and I quite liked her then as a character. But in this one, I don't know. I don't know what it is just yet, but there's something that's niggling me about her. So I'm not a huge fan of The Boys, and I never really have been. But I am watching it, seeing if I can get into it. There's certain storylines that I am getting into, i.e. like Ryan, Homelander's son, and the relationship between him and Homelander and him and Butcher. I think as far as that storyline goes, I think there's going to be some sort of sacrifice that happens, and I do think that Ryan is going to be the one to get rid of Homelander sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Obviously that would then potentially end the series of The Boys. Okay, it's had 4 seasons, but yeah, I think Ryan is going to be the one to be the only one really who can get rid of Homelander. So on that principle alone, I kind of can't wait for that to happen. I think it's going to be a sacrifice from Butcher himself that makes that happen. I think that's going to be what maybe makes Ryan snap and attack his dad. So I think that's kind of maybe what might happen there. But yeah, it's okay. It's not too bad. So we watched episodes 3 and 4. Then I watched a film, or we did I should say, on Netflix called Damsel, starring Millie Bobby Brown and Angela Bassett. Now, I love Angela Bassett as an actress. And this film, honestly, visually, is beautiful. It is stunning. It's a stunningly visual film. I love things where visually they give you something else. Like, I don't enjoy the actual sort of narrative and given way of the film, Sin City. But the visuals of it, I fell in love with. The black, red and white, I love the visuals of Sin City. But the story itself is a bit meh. Damsel had the potential to be this fantastic fantasy with these beautiful visuals, these amazing actors as they have been in other things. But there just was elements of cheesiness in their acting. Millie Bobby Brown had moments where she looked as if she was out of her comfort zone in what she was doing. And Angela Bassett the same. I found her the same in she just didn't look comfortable at moments in the role she was playing. Now Ray Winston, we know Ray Winston usually plays a hard man, kind of a cockney geezer. He plays Millie Bobby Brown's father in this. And he actually does a good job. I actually didn't mind him as a character. I thought he was okay. But it actually isn't. As much as I'm slating potentially the elements of acting, it actually wasn't a bad film. If maybe they would have at certain times not come across quite so wooden. Other times they were amazing, and Millie Bobby Brown's face is stunning in this film sometimes. They've caught her at such exquisite angles that she's just beautifully stunning. And some of the things that happen are just superb. It has got an amazing storyline to it. And Angela Bassett, again, plays a good part. It's just there were some little occasions, just little tidbits where the faces didn't fit the moment, and it kind of things like that just throw you out of the story, where they just looked awkward or a little bit wooden in what they were doing. But other than that, great, really good. So if you haven't seen Damsel on Netflix, I would say give it a go. I really would say watch it. Like I said, if nothing else, just for the pure visual beauty of it. I've no idea where it was filmed. I could maybe have a guess at New Zealand with the scenery, but it's so stunning, the scenery. And the antagonist within this film is really interesting. The storyline is very fairy tale. It is kind of a fantasy fairy tale type film, which I, again, really enjoyed. It was kind of a twist on most of those princess tales that you hear, but with quite a dramatic twist. So yeah, I thought it was a great film. So that was Damsel. And then just to go back to our childhoods and just have a bit of a reminisce and watch something that was part of one of the reasons why we ended up realising that we were good for each other, was not many people know of the film. So when it was asked of me, have I seen it? And I was like, of course I've seen it. Have people not seen this film? To be surprised that people haven't seen this film and don't really know what it is. We watched Big Trouble in Little China, and I adore that film. I've loved it since the 80s. I think it's an amazing film. I do love Kurt Russell in most things that he does, but this is just a superb film. My partner's always jibbing me about, or saying like Lopan's probably going to come after me one time because I've got green eyes. But yeah, the visuals of Big Trouble in Little China, just the comedy of it, because it is a comedy kind of horror. The fact that John Carpenter did it, when John Carpenter has done some great films like The Thing and The Fog. It's just a good film, and it's just a feel good film. So if you haven't ever watched Big Trouble in Little China, it may not have the same effect on you because you may not have seen it in the 80s, early 90s, but I would still say give it a go just for a laugh, because it is a comedy horror, but it's so good, it's superb, it's such a great film. It's just a feel good film, and I just love it. So we watched that last night and had a great time watching that. And then what's coming up for next week? Well, I have done a couple of videos, so I think I'm probably going to sort of schedule them to post without me being here. But I think they'll post on the opposite days of what I normally post. So Tuesday and Thursday they'll come out. And I've just done some tags, because that's really at this moment in time what I had time to do. And it's just easy for me to pre-do them and get them posted. Then that way it's not sort of like anything that I've read as of now. So I've done a couple of tag videos, and they'll be going out next week whilst I'm away. I've just got to edit them, etc., and set them up to sort of be ready to go out. So that was the week really that I've had. Episode 3 of A Week in View. So there won't be one next week because I won't be here. I'll be in Wales. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy my holiday. I've not had a holiday in 30 plus years, and even then it's only been in the UK, but who cares, it's still a holiday. So I'm going to thoroughly enjoy my week away. I may, as I say, take one of my books with me. I probably, if I don't finish Speaks the Nightbird this week here at home, I will take that with me to finish it off. But other than that, I may well take one of these two new ones, either the Richard Osmond or the We Hunt the Flame. So yeah, that's everything from me. I had a great week last week. This week is probably going to be a good week. What am I doing on Wednesday? Wednesday I'm going to actually more in-depth review the Once and Future Witches. We're going to go a little bit more into that. I don't know if I can express any more how much I enjoyed it, but I'm going to try to encourage as many people as I possibly can to read that book, because for me it's just amazing. And then I'm not sure if I'll be posting on Friday. Friday's kind of that, that panic day what we all have before we're going away, where you need to get everything done. So I'm not sure if there will be a video on Friday as yet. But other than that, have yourselves a great day. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. Thank you again. We are at 200 subs now. I don't know how this has happened. I don't know where you've all come from, but I feel very blessed to have you all. So does Joe's. She would be here again today, but she's trying out for another job, which may mean she's again away more now, because it seems like it's going to be a full-time position. So, but we're just really, really grateful. We don't actually have the words. We didn't think that when we started this journey that we would have 200. It's actually 202 as of this morning. We didn't think we'd have that amount of people that would watch us. We hoped for it, obviously, but we didn't think that what we do would be that entertaining to anyone. So with the help of other booktubers, such as John and Jacob and Britton and Darko and Pat and Chaz and Eva, and there's so many that I could mention and probably still haven't mentioned, just getting us out there and being friends to our channel as much as we're friends to theirs have made a big difference. And we had our lulls where we thought maybe we weren't meant to do this, and we maybe weren't meant to be part of this scene, but over the last couple of months we've realised that we've found our friends, and we're so grateful for that. And we found our people and our book family, and we're also really grateful for that. So I don't know how to thank you all enough. I'm just overwhelmed. And may I also say congratulations to the beautiful Pat from Book Chat with Pat, who's just hit 1,000 subscribers. She's doing so well, and I'm so pleased for her. She deserves to do well. So thank you. That's all I can say really, is thank you. It makes me proud. It makes me feel like We're doing something good in the book community, and I hope you will continue to watch, and we will continue possibly to grow that subscriber count. And speaking on that, if you do want to join the community and become a friend of the channel, you can like this video. But the most important thing that you can do for me and Jocelyn is, you see down there where you've got that bell button, click on that, and then click on it again. You'll be notified of every single video we upload. And what that does is, you don't have to watch everything, but it makes you a part of our family. And then it just helps us grow and be seen out in that world. And we would be most grateful if you would continue to do that, folks. If you can continue to share our content with friends who you think might like it, we'd love that too. But thank you for all your support. It means everything. And I'm absolutely positive Jocelyn would say the same. In fact, she'd probably even have a cry about it. Because we're so proud. And my daughter even messaged me and said how proud she was. So it's just not something we expected to happen. But we're loving it. We have so much fun doing this. I enjoy reading. Jocelyn loves being editor-in-chief. So we're just grateful to you all, really, for everything that you've done for us. So have yourselves a great day. Love you all. Thank you all. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks as usual for watching this video. And if you want more content, you can click on one of the following links. Thanks so much for your support. See you again next time.